Alright guys, we're here with another product review of Arccaptain's CUT55 Pro plasma cutter. We're going to unbox it, see what's all in the packaging, set it up, go over all the details and features, and then we're going to test it on 120 and 240 volts. And I also conclude the video with showing you guys how to download the app and use the Wi-Fi feature. So let's get started. Alright, here's all the contents removed from the packaging, and pretty much everything is here. I thought this model came with more consumables. We only have a couple electrodes, a couple nozzles, a tool to remove them, 2 clamps for the hose for the air regulator, and one thing we're also going to need is an air inlet coupler. This is not going to work. Need one with a barb on it for this side, so we'll get one tomorrow when we out in the field before we get started cutting. This is a really nice compact machine. It has the regulator here, or the air valve, has a water separator on it, or water trap quick release valve there, on and off switch in the back. We're gonna get a weight on it as well, and some dimensions. But here's the display, the different modes, and we'll see all that in a second. The contents came with it was the ground cable. There's a hood for it, believe it or not, as well as a strap. We have the cutting torch itself. It's already put together, has the shield on there already, the nozzle, and the electrode installed. And we got the spatial guide on the tip of it. I like the little safety latch here to keep you from pressing the trigger. The previous plasma cutters, or the one that I do own still, doesn't have this. It doesn't interfere with hand. I use my left hand or right hand equally as good, and it doesn't interfere with neither like that. This cable is just under 10 feet long, just as well as this hose. And we'll show you guys the helmet it came with. Yes, it came with the helmet, auto darkening helmet. Some extra lenses. Oh, wow, this is pretty cool. I like this. Man, that's nice. So we'll be cutting in this as well. There's the model number on it. I did an amazing review on an Arccaptain welder a few months back. Sure, check that out, guys. I'm pretty sure this has the exact same adapter as the welder has. You can use it for both. We'll see in a second. Yeah, but make sure you just plugged up. We'll start it on the 110 or 120 volts first. But let's hook this thing up really quickly. Let's install the torch first. So you have this. You can't install it wrong. There's a channel there, or groove. It only goes one way. See the groove up there, so it goes like this. Twist it on. There's ridges on this, so you can make sure it's tightened down. Just a hand tight should get it. Next we have this loop on the cable. You want to hook this to here. I guess we can, let's go under it. And finally, we can remove this rubber boot. We're going to install this to here. Alright, we're all set. Guess we can tuck this under here somehow. Maybe the only con is these two. I may put something on here, some kind of wire loom or something. I don't like this to be like that. So yeah, I may put a wire loom here. Try to angle it a little bit better. All right, we're installed. Now let's hook our ground clamp up. The ground clamp has a keyway on it. You guys can see the key there. So you can't install it incorrectly. And if you look at the hole, you can see it just at the bottom as well. So it goes in like so. And we turn it in clockwise until it tightens up. That's it. Ground cable installed, the torch is installed, and I guess now we can install at least one section of this hose. You can actually use this end right here. Let's get the clamp out first. All right, we can put our clamp on. Press this on this barb. So we're gonna tighten it up, and we need an air inlet coupler for here with the bob on it that we can connect to our air compressor. So we'll have that tomorrow. I'll go out and get one tomorrow. It's late in the evening right now. Let's get some measurements really quickly of this thing. We'll measure from this point to that point because that's the longest. 15 inches there. Just right at the handle, about 10 inches right at the handle. Just a tad bit over 5 inches for the width. Okay, so as far as the carrying strap, there's 2 ports for this, or 2 holes for it, and goes like so. So you can adjust it how you want to adjust. You want to pull it tighter. So that's just optional. I'll leave it on here. And it also has this hood. I think that's pretty neat. Has an opening slot here where you can carry it, and it folds over here. Guess you can just set it down on here like so. I guess to prevent dust from building up on it, not bad. I do want to note, this cover has large pockets on both sides for the cables, and I'll show you all that at the end of the video, how it looks with the cables installed of those pockets. With the cover. All right, let's power this thing up really quickly, guys. Got power here, 120 volts. Plug it up. Let's remove, we can also remove this before we power it on. right, we can power it up now. I'm waiting for the fan to power off. Just like the welders, the fan comes on initially or during initial startup, and it should shut down in a second. Whenever you power the machine on, the fan will run for approximately 30 seconds, then it shuts down. Once the machine is in use, it reactivates the fan and repeats that cycle. Once you power the machine off, the fan will run for approximately 10 seconds before shutting down. All right, so it is detecting that we're on 120 volts. And we're in 2T mode. Press the mode button and see what happens. Okay, it goes from 2T to 4T, and I'll go over all that tomorrow when we get out in the field. Here's the current control knob. 120 volts goes up to 35 and as low as 20. But let's power it down. Off, in the error code. That's alarm signal there. And maybe we get an error code because, or maybe that's just how it shuts down. All right, we got a connector for our air hose, and this is what we need to buy. And if you don't have one of these, you need one of these as well, and some Teflon tape. So let's install this really quickly. All right, this is gonna be a tight fit. So you can get the 1/4 inch. This is also coming 1/4 inch, which will fit well in here. It will rely on the clamp, whereas this probably is sealed already from leaking because it went on so tight. Just use some kind of lube I had in here. I was gonna get some petroleum or some kind of grease to put on here to help it go down because it is a tight fit, but that got it on here super easy. Now we can just fasten the clamp. 6mm. Don't have to be that tight because this is already there. Let's get some Teflon tape on here. Doesn't need much. Yeah, wrench for here. I got one here. It's 5/8. Let's see if I got some pliers to hold that down. Pretty good. Should be all good with no leaks. All right, that's ready to go. Now let's get ready to get out into the field, guys. Let's get into the field and see how well this machine cuts. And we're gonna wear this helmet. All right, guys, we got to worry about our safety, so we need this. Industrial extension cord. Gotta remove the car cover off the car. We're not gonna plug this up here. We'll plug our air compressor here. We're gonna plug the plasma cutter to an outlet that I have specifically designated for my welder. So we're gonna run out the 100-foot cord all the way to the house where that outlet is located. And I'll show you all that in a few. This cord is massive. And I'll show you this compared to just a regular extension cord. The white extension cord shown here is your typical house extension cord. The orange one is a heavy duty extension cord used for power tools, saws, etc. Whereas the yellow one that I'm using now is an industrial grade extension cord used for larger equipment and is ideal for plasma cutters, welders, etc. Also, we're gonna bring this out here, mid-size fire extinguisher. We got them all over the place. Safety is first. Gonna set this right here on standby, and let me get the plasma cut out here, and then we're gonna run the extension cord, and we can get ready to get started. All right, gonna remove the hood off this car, and I need to remove that nut right there. cutting in front of this. So right in front, that's my spot. I'll cut all the way up. On this side as well. This is already removed, so yeah, we're gonna go for it. All right, so here's our setup. I gotta run the extension cord to the house. This extension cord is huge. Got it come through there, have our air coming from the back. Got that moved over some so we can see the regulator. I'm gonna set our regulator for, that's for our post flow. And yeah, we're pretty much all good. What time it is right now. So let me get this hood off and that bolt removed, and then we're gonna run the extension cord. We can actually plug the compressor up to see if we got a leak really quick. Let's plug this up. Got that removed, super easy. The hood is off. You got a clear path. I do want to note how important it is to not be doing this with gas or fuel in the car, because we are gonna probably slice through some glass lines that's running along here or the back side. This car doesn't have a fuel tank, no gas, probably since the last 30 years. Or longer. Let me show you all, just for clarity, how long this car been sitting up. No gas tank. Look at the last time this car was registered. All right. So very important. And safety. We gotta be safe. We got that extinguisher on deck. All right. The time it is. Now I got my gloves, my coat. You gotta get the helmet. And yeah, we just gonna go for it. All right, we're pretty much set up. We're holding air. Pretty good right there. I'll leave it there. There's a way to set the post flow times here. The default post flow time setting is 5 seconds, and unless you download the app, you cannot change that. You can change it through the app up to 15 seconds if you like. I'll show you all how to do that, but yeah, we can power on now. There go our fan. We're gonna do 2T mode. 2T mode is the standard. Press the trigger, start, let go the trigger, stop. Whereas 4T mode, press the trigger, ignite the arc, and it'll continuously burn until you press that trigger again. But we're gonna start on 2T so I get a good feel for it. You can go down some. We can start at 25 amps. And yeah, we should be all good. We're reading at 120 volts for the first test. This is our time. We're set up. Grab our helmet. Let's remove this plastic film. That is nice. That is nice. It's time for us to do some slaying to that metal. All right, let's get out here. It says optimum setting for post flow here is 57 PSI. Let's drop down to there. You want to pull up to adjust it, push down to lock it, pull up. Oh yeah, come down. All right, that's locked. 57.5, they say, is the optimal recommended cutting pressure for optimal results. So we'll leave it there, push down to lock it. We're good to go there. Let me get in some attire and let's get started cutting. Let's remove this. We got the jack here. We jack up a little bit. Alright, we got the car. Alright. I'll start on that side first, off the camera, so you all can see. Let's get started. Only thing sucks is today it's a little windy. Kind of hate that, but yeah, we're gonna turn up. I do want to note, throughout this whole cutting process today, the winds were gusting up to gale force. Not an ideal situation to be using a plasma cutter because it did affect it somewhat. However, you do want to show these type of situations or environments for others who may have to do some cutting in these type of settings. So I guess that's the great thing that came out of it. And I got it done despite not an ideal situation to be using this plasma cutter. Here I'm struggling in 4T mode, maybe because there's a layer of epoxy along that seam, along the side panel right here, and I'll show you all that in a second. But it's starting and stopping. I'm really struggling with it. So I eventually put it back to 2T mode where it works much better for this situation. 4T wasn't working here at all for me. Every time it started, it was stopping on its own. I have to keep pressing the trigger. So yeah, not good for me in this situation at all. Now I'm back in 2T mode, much better than using 4T mode for this situation. All right, so far, because whoever had this car, you can see all that gunk. Well, I'm not sure what they use, some seam sealer or something. I'm cutting through that as well, so I'm not getting a good metal direct contact, so I got to do a little bit of stopping and going. But it's slicing through it, despite all that. I guess some seam sealer is all right there as well. Somebody did a poor patch job on this car. And I gotta do a little bit more cutting down here to break through that. Then we'll hit the back side and we'll be done with that side. Then we get over here. But so far so good, despite me having to cut through whatever they use here, whatever that is, some kind of seam sealer or some kind of caulking, I don't know, some kind of epoxy, I'm not sure what it is. It's all here. So thus far, since we've cut this other side, what I think, the plasma cutters I've had that work off 120 volts. It's definitely better than any one I've ever used that work off 120 volts. I'm curious to see how it works off 240 volts, but before we get started on the other side, as I'm letting the machine just cool down a little bit, this is the time. I've been out here, I had to do a few more things before I came back here, so I stopped for a second. So we got through about 130 with that other side. What I'm gonna do is replace the nozzle and the electrode. Look at this. It's kind of distorted a little bit, and we want a clean nozzle once we get started. So let's remove this and then we'll replace it with the new one for the other side. All right, guys, I'm gonna take a break. I gotta go pick my son up from school, and this is where we at right now. How far we got? So I have to be in front of this line right there. So I gotta come over some this way, and I gotta come right here. This is the line. I wanna be in front of, so I can clear this. So we'll be slicing right through here. So I gotta come over some. All right, guys, it's getting dark pretty quick these evenings. It's 4:06. I'm back. Let's get this thing cut really quickly. I got some light for us. I'm gonna come on this side and try to get this spliced up right now. Let me get everything ready. All right, guys, I pretty much got it cut. I thought I was recording. It's about 4:30. It's getting dark on me. I gotta put everything away. One thing about this, I'm gonna order some consumables tonight and see if I can get some here tomorrow, because you know I'm running through them fruit they gave me like it ain't nothing. And I want to make sure I have a good one or a few of them for when I do a 240 volt cut. But yeah, I'm gonna order some tonight. So it's the next morning. I'm using the plasma cutter on 4T, trying to see if I can get better results than I did yesterday because it was so windy. But I'm still struggling with that epoxy that somebody put here, whatever they use, seam seal epoxy, I'm not sure what it is. So still struggling with the 4T mode. I eventually switched it back to 2T to make these last small few cuts. Now I could have been done with this yesterday if I didn't stop. Would have got through it pretty quickly, but yeah, the wind didn't help at all yesterday. But here, just making the last final few small fine cuts, and we're gonna snatch this front end off and then go to the 240 volt where this machine shines at. It really does. I also tell you guys the perfect setting, what I believe is for the 120 when I'm done. When I came outside the next day to cut the other section off, or to finish off cutting that front end off, this was the perfect setting. After going through all the different settings and trying all what works best, this was the best setting on this machine for 120 volt for me, at least. Out here in the field cutting this front end off 24. I wish I would have used this setting on the other side, but the machine performed extremely well on 24 amps when I cut the other side off. I don't know if the conditions helped because it was extremely windy yesterday, but this was the number that worked well for me on 120 volts. So you can try it out. Maybe you'll get the same results. All right, we pretty much cut off, guys. Didn't take long. Pretty much done. All right, let's snatch this thing off here. I'm gonna mount the camera and we're gonna snatch the front of it clean off here. We're about to do part 2 of the test before we close the video out. Got some old rotors we're gonna cut through, and I know this axle is pushing it. I got a bunch of axles just laying around, so you know, we're gonna just see how well it does. This is the adapter for the welder. To convert from 240 to 120, it's the same adapter that came with the plasma cutter. So just want to note that all the adapters are pretty much the same. It wasn't no different in it. All right, let me set up. I bought some consumables because that's important. Let me show you how the tip looked when we got through the last cut on the front of the car. This thing is pretty much done. I struggled to get that final little small cut out the way. So let's change over that consumable. Let's hook up. I bought the small compressor up front, even though my larger one is in there back there. I want to show that you can still use a smaller compressor even on 240 volts. And yeah, let me set up so we can get started, because it's gonna rain in a minute. The clouds are just coming in, and time is whispering away. So let me set up and I'll be back in a minute. All right, we got this installed. No, let's turn the machine on right now. Let's see if it identifies it's on 240 volts. It should, just like the welders do. Let's power it on from the back. Yep, didn't touch it. However, the setting stayed the same from the last time I set it. In 2T mode, I like 2T mode better than 4T mode so far. But we'll try both on 240. Let's just go to, this is the max 55 amps. Let's go to 35, where it maxed out at 120 volts. You see how that cuts. Here's our subject. That's an old tie rod end. It's pretty thick. This is probably 5/8 of an inch. So we're gonna see. All right, let me get my coat on, my helmet, and let's turn up. We also got this, which is probably the diameter of this, is rusted. I want to cut that because it's rusted without cleaning it. So we'll do this first, and then we'll try something larger really quick. All right, let's get started because the rain is on the horizon. I was attempting to spell Arccaptain. This thing gets violently hot. Look at this, I'm melting everything away. Let me change this out. We're gonna go for the big final test right now. We're gonna go to 55 amp. We're gonna try to see what we can do for that axle. This thing is incredible. It shines on 240 volts. This thing is a whole nother animal on 240 volts. And I did this to show the 4T mode how once you strike the arc, it stays lit until you hit it again to turn it off. I like 4T mode on 240, not so much 120. All right, we're clamped on. I'm gonna make the cut right here on this side. Let's max out. Power on. We don't need to be in 4T mode. We just gonna, well, we can stay in 4T mode. Let's just go to 55 amps. There it is. The max of this machine. I believe hence the name CUT55. Guys, I want to note this axle is about 1.25 inches, maybe a little larger in diameter. And this plasma cutter is not designed to cut through that thick of a metal. It's designed to cut up to 3/4 inch or 19 millimeters. However, this machine did impressively well when cutting through that thick metal, and you guys are going to see the results when I'm done. Very impressed at how well it did. All right, guys, we're going to finish it off right here. That machine is incredible. Look at this. We got through about 90%. A little bit more to go. If I just take a hammer, that'll break off. Or if I just would have rotated, if I did want to cut, just rotate it, and I could have cut this clean off. I was just trying to see how far I can penetrate through without me moving it. And this is what we got. Very impressive. Okay guys, I guess we can conclude the video with the Wi-Fi mode. Show you guys how to operate it through the phone. I guess the first thing you want to do is download the app, and I'll show you guys that as well. It's in the App Store. And then we'll close out with installing this hood and putting the cables and the holes inside these slots. But let's power it on. I paused it here for a second so you all can see that wire loom I put over those 2 wires that were exposed. I thought this was a better way to cover those wires or shield them from possibly being pinched somehow or even frayed. But yeah, see the wire loom there. I don't talk about it in the conclusion of this video, so I want to mention it now before I close the video out. This don't matter, we can just turn that down. All right, here's the app, but let me show you guys in the App Store. Let's find it. So here's the app. Right here. I already got it. You just press open. The machine will recognize, or this will recognize the machine. You don't have to press in anything. Once you download the app, if there's a machine by, it's going to recognize. You'll get that signal like we got right there. Let me zoom in. That's our Wi-Fi signal. Let me zoom out some. Right there. It's showing our device, the CUT55 Pro. It's showing me on 22 amps. That's awesome. Shows we're in 2T mode. Shows y'all you can delete the device and disconnect. We don't want that. And to get started, it's super simple. You want to scroll up here. You see cut. Zoom in some. You see that. So you want to click on this. And it's going to ask you to confirm it. Just confirm. And there we go. We can change the amperage and the post flow only on the app. I'm pretty sure you can't control it here because I've went through the instructions many times and the manual. Don't see anything about that. Only here shows you what mode we're in. We can change that right now in real time. 4T, you see it switches over. Pretty much no lag time. 2T back. And switch to amperage. There's a scroll bar here. We can just scroll up a little bit. It'll change. We can go max 35 right at the touch. So I guess if you're working somewhere at a distance and you have your phone standing by and you don't want to move from your position, you can control the device strictly from here. Even the post flow time, you can change it up to 15 seconds. Like I told you guys, doesn't show it here anywhere, just here on the app, letting you know the seconds that you're allowing for post flow time. So you can go 9, 8. Default was, I think, at 5 seconds. So we'll leave it here. But that's pretty much it. Super simple, extremely easy to work. Once you download, you don't have to press in, no serial numbers or scan any barcodes. It's right there, pulls it up almost instantaneously once the app opens up. It shows the device that it's being connected with or the one that's nearby. And once you connect to it, it's pretty simple and straightforward. That's it with the app. Very user-friendly, extremely easy to work, and yeah, convenient for someone who may need to use this in different situations. Whereas me, maybe rarely use this, who knows in the future. But yeah, great tool to have on this awesome, amazing plasma cutter. Oh, and for the record, before we close out, once you close the app, it automatically disconnected. So if I just want to scroll up, watch the Wi-Fi signal here. Once I just close the app up, it goes off. If you're interested in purchasing this machine, there'll be a link in the description box as well as a discount code. Arccaptain gives out discounts all day, every day, just for logging onto their website. Who knows, you may can win a free helmet, a large sum off of one of their amazing products. Doesn't cost anything to go over there and visit. As far as this plasma cutter, this machine is simply amazing. My only con would be, and it's not even a con, is the consumables it consumes, because that's with any plasma cutter. There's unlimited ways to use it, whether you're in the automotive field, fabrication, or just a plain DIY. It's light, compact, which allows it to be mobile very easily, and most importantly, it's inexpensive, and I highly recommend this machine. All right, there it is. Of course, you can disconnect it here and fit everything in this one compartment on this side. As far as the plasma cutter and the ground cable, it'll fit in here easily. You can just disconnect it if you want. And as far as more cleaner look aesthetically, but this is perfect for me. And the air hose fits in here. You can actually remove the clamp if you want and place the hose completely inside of here. But this is fine for me. I'll just set this at the bottom shelf under the welder. But there it is, guys. Very nice hood. You ain't got to worry about the plasma cutter getting any dust on, especially if you got a shop or you're working out of a shop that accumulates a lot of dust. This hood will keep this thing looking really nice. So this cover will keep this plasma cutter looking like new. All right, guys, it's a wrap for this video. Hope you guys found it helpful. Thank you so much for watching. Terrence, I'm out.